right. I think I'm on. I think I'm live. Welcome to the stream. This is going to be brief, as this is kind of me trying something different. I This is probably the third time that I've done this. I just figured out how to do it yesterday, and or else I would have done it sooner, especially during election season and post-election season, which I guess in some ways we're still in the throes of. But yeah, I finally got it working, and I'm excited to be with you live, although there's no one here. But I wanted to have a brief conversation about the Black America boycott of corporate America. Um, I did participate. It was only for a day. I mean, but I did have several different conversations, and many people thought I was opposed to it, which I, in some ways, was. But as a show of unity, uh, with my community, I guess, if you want to call it that, or with my group, I did participate, and it wasn't much of a sacrifice at all if you really think about it. It was only for one day, and so like I said, I was having a bunch of conversations with, people in my life, loved ones, kind of discussing how I felt about it and why I felt that way. And for me, I feel like it was an exercise in futility, right? Many people are going to disagree with me about that, but it was an exercise in futility. Why was it an exercise in futility? Well, you know, it was a way of throwing, in my opinion, right? This is my opinion. It was more of a way of throwing a tantrum. It was a demonstration to corporate America of really, it highlighted much of our powerlessness as a community. It highlighted our dependency on these structures, or on these entities as a community. And so, I was, I was of the mind that there are other things and other ways that we could have gotten together, planned to do something that wasn't so short term. And I think that's a lot of times the problem within the Black community, is a lot of our planning is more short term. It doesn't have a long vision per se. A lot of the people that I spoke with pushed back on that too, because they felt like there were other boycotts that were soon to follow. And this didn't come from one person. This came from many different people. So I knew that there was a narrative around this thing, that many people were on board with, and had been given to kind of like kind of push that narrative throughout the community to get people on board and to support. So, the thing that I felt, and I wrote a little story about it, and I'm going to read that here shortly. But the thing that I felt was that, and this story is going to illustrate why I felt like it was an exercise in futility. There's ownership is the real reason why Black America, or the Black community, is in the position that it's in. And many will say, well, things have been taken away, we've been discouraged. All of those things may be true, but it should not mean that the effort to gain power, or to create a position of ownership in this country you should stop, right? So let me read this story, and I'm curious to know how you feel about it, what you think about it. But the name of the story is called "The Frogs Who Boycotted the Lake." I probably should have said the people, but whatever. Once upon a time, a village of frogs lived around a great lake ruled by an unseen owner. The frogs depended on the lake for everything: food, water, recreation, but they resented paying the owner for its use. "We should show him our power," they croaked, one day, "Let us boycott the lake. For one full day, none of us shall drink, bathe, or fish. Then he will see we are not his slaves." The decree was met with much applause. The frogs felt brave and righteous, for they had declared rebellion. The night before the boycott, some frogs, fearing discomfort, drank their fill in advance. Others washed twice as many tadpoles as usual. Still others, feeling truly defiant, went without. The boycott day arrived. The lake sat undisturbed, its surface like glass. The frogs felt triumphant as they croaked their victory songs. Then, the next morning, a funny thing happened. The thirsty frogs drank twice as much. The hungry ones caught double the fish. The laundry piles grew even larger. The lake, having rested a day, seemed busier or much busier than ever. Meanwhile, the owner, having spent the day lounging, counting his usual tolls, no revenue was lost, only postponed. He chuckled to himself. How generous of them, he thought, to give me the day off. Some of the wiser frogs croaked, "But what have we changed? We still need the lake. The owner still owns it. We have shown him nothing but our dependency." A few rebels suggested moving to a nearby pond, but the frogs scoffed. "Too much effort. Who will maintain it? Who will keep out the birds besides the lake is right here." And so the frogs returned to their routines, celebrating their day of power while failing to see that it had achieved nothing. Sorry. And I'm trying to scroll down. The owner smiled, for he knew a secret the frogs did not. He who owns the lake does not fear those who merely pause to drink. And so, that kind of goes to, for me, it just showed that it just highlighted that Black America is dependent on these corporations, because who else are we going to buy our eggs from? Who else are we going to buy our car from? Who else is going to build the car, manufacture the car, or design the car? We participate in these companies as employees. We don't participate as owners. We don't hold the keys or the control over these companies and the decisions that they make. We try and influence those decisions, but we're not competing with the people that own these companies in order to push them to do some of the things that we want. So a couple more things before I go. Just going to touch on it. It was, in my opinion, an illusion of resistance. It simulated defiance. It gave the participants a feeling of agency, right? It gave the participants, meaning Black America, a sense of urgency as well in terms of changing their situation. But because the planning was so short term, it really didn't require the level of sacrifice that we would need in order to have lasting change. We had a day's worth of change, maybe. Or we had a day's worth of sacrifice, and we're only going to get maybe an equivalent amount of change in the future, right? The dependency trap. So the boycott exposed our deep reliance on the way that business is done in America, on the very corporations that we chose to boycott. And so if we think about that, that exposure, and if we're not looking at that and saying, well, how do we remove this constraint? What is the constraint between us having to use these people or these corporations to shop and us not having to? What is keeping us bound to these corporations, right? And I know the answer to that. Many of us know the answer to that. But like the frogs at the lake, this is a very difficult decision. It would be a very difficult sacrifice to make in order to achieve true ownership, in order to have your own Target, quote unquote. And I say your own Target, not that it would be named Target, not that it's a franchise, but in order to have your own company on equal status, on an equal playing field as a Target or Walmart or whoever the heck else, Wendy's or McDonald's, whoever the heck else you're going to boycott, it's going to take a tremendous amount of effort and a sustained sacrifice and a sustained unity, mobilization of the group in order to achieve this. Another thing that was interesting that I wrote down was reverse Stockholm syndrome, right? So instead of corporations being afraid of consumers, it's consumers who are afraid of permanently divorcing corporations because they have no alternative, right? A real show of power would be creating an ecosystem that makes corporate retail obsolete, not taking a symbolic day off before crawling back. Okay. And, this is kind of, where we are at this point. At this point, we are crawling back. We are coming back to shop at a Target on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning. The eggs we didn't get on Friday, if we didn't buy them Thursday and Wednesday, if we didn't stock up, we are coming today to do our grocery shopping. And we're pretending as if, the boycott was effective. Okay. Last but not least, before I go, corporations love these boycotts. You've heard the saying that any press is good press, or all press is good press. And in so many words, they don't hurt the long-term revenue. As I said, most of the profits, most of the fees, most of the funds, most of what would have been collected on the day of the boycott was only simply postponed. So we paid more on Saturday, or we paid more on Sunday whenever we went back, or we paid the same. Maybe Friday wasn't a day we were going to shop anyway, but we were going to spend that money regardless. It is budgeted for. It is budgeted for, our eggs or us getting a car. The real show of power will be when people begin to plan to build their own ecosystem, right? And to kind of unplug from the matrix, so to speak. Because it really truly is, for us, at least as Black Americans, it really is a matrix. It really is something that we're plugged into, something that, we are having a great difficulty divorcing ourselves from. So I would love to know what you guys think. I see there are a few people in the chat. I have no idea how to read the chat. This is my first time doing this. But leave your comments. If this is something that you think you'd like to see me do more of, I would love to do more of it. If you've paid attention to any of my content before or previously, feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know what you think, and maybe some of the things that we can have more discussions about. All right. Peace.